I've tried starting this video so many times, but I keep getting put off by my new friend, this huge spot that has just appeared, and I keep catching glimpses of it in the camera, and it keeps terrifying me. But so I apologise for that. Maybe we'll try and lance that later on in the video. But welcome to the Cactus Cave. Postie's delivered the rear light and the clutch cable. So clutch cable's gone on the bike, pretty straightforward. And the main bit of the video today is going to be kind of electricery fun, I reckon. Not a subject I'm particularly good at. I mean, I can crimp, I can solder, I can kind of muddle my way around and wire things in, but troubleshooting tends to be a bit difficult. It's you know, it's not something I feel ultimately comfortable with. I tend to muddle through it or go through it like a bull in the china shop, really. But we'll get there, I'm sure. I have confidence. Yeah, so that's going to be the main one. Side mount, getting the brake light wired up, and probably trying to have a look through some of the other electrical components. I'm going to attempt to test some of these things as well. I'm going to try and eliminate as many possible potential problems when it comes to starting the bike as I can. So I'll film the little bits and bobs as we go along. The first one I'll show you, which I've tried to preempt. I'll take you over to the bike and we'll have a look at that one. Okie dokes then, so the handlebars starting to look a little bit more complete and together now. As you see, we've got the lovely new clutch cable is on, and this one even comes with a nice spring around it to protect it from the engine, like a heat kind of shield, so that's even better than the original. But yeah, we're slowly getting there. It's starting to look a little bit more completed on the front. But whilst I've been on the forums and stuff looking around and just finding common faults, issues, problems, an interesting one that's kind of come up a couple of times is the starter switch on the bars. Now, apparently, and it doesn't really show it very well in the wiring diagram, but I believe there's an it earths to the handlebar off that switch. So a lot of problems with it not starting off this button can be traced back to it not earthing correctly on here, and particularly if you've changed to an aluminium bar or indeed a painted bar and the conductivity isn't quite as good as it should be, you can experience some problems. So what I've done is I'll try and turn the torch on. Just above where the wires are, there's that brassy covered kind of little bit. I believe that's the tab that earths, and I don't think we're going to be able to pick it up particularly well on here. But what I've actually done is I've just kind of lightly dremeled away the paint around that area, so it's going onto the bare alloy, and I'm hoping that's going to provide a decent enough earth point for it, just in case. Obviously the stock bars are chrome. It's weird, I can't really find any reference to that on the wiring diagram, but we'll see. That possibly work. If that's still not working quite as well, it may be that we need to run a ground wire from there to a point of the engine. But that's just a little something that I've discovered whilst I've been rooting around, and I've attempted to sort of catch that before it becomes an issue. But everything else is pretty good. I'm going to film the odd. I'm going to test a few odds and sods here whilst I still can, just to try and eradicate any issues, as I said. So I'll probably montage a few bits of video on that. But as I say, the main thing is the side mount. That's what we're really looking forward to. So I've got this plate here. My mate Russ sorted me out, and that's bolted to the bottom of the shock. And then I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do. I might leave this completely whole, paint it again because it's a bit of exposed metal there. But depending on how I'm going to mount the brake light arrangement, which I'll show you in a sec, that might get a bit of trimming. Got to clean up all the old tape off it. But we've got that's where our rear brake light's going to go into. So we've got an extra bit of wiring that plugs in here and then used to feed to the original brake light. That was pretty cruddy and crappy. In fact, I wasn't getting any kind of signal through it on the ground wire. That was so so corroded, so I've had to cut that off, clean that up as well, and sort that out. So now I know that section of the loom's running okay. Where is it? Here we go. That section. So that'll be ready to go. So I'm going to attach the brake to that, which will then plug into the loom. And here is the brake we're going for. So I've got the number plate light illumination there and an LED brake light there, and I've got this number plate mount. So this kind of makes my life an awful lot easier, really, because I'm thinking I'm probably just going to drill mounting holes in there, get my position right. It's going to be slightly offset. Put that there, and then the number plate will go on top of that, and I think that's going to sort the issue out quite nicely. What I need to just find out now is just check the wires on here. Obviously it's come with no instructions, not that you really need any, but there are 4 wires, so I'm imagining that there may well be one of these indicator lights in here, which I don't know if they're an MOT thing. I don't think they are. I'm sure there's something about the distance of indicators, they've got to be apart, but also it's a side mount, so it's not right on the back of the bike, so even if I was utilising the indicators there, I think it's a little bit off-putting, because they're both going to be down on the one side, and at night it's confusing. So if that's the case, I am pretty much just going to do away with the indicator function on there. So I'm just going to find out which wire does what, and I shall do it in, as you'll see as this video goes on, typical Johnny Cactus hillbilly style, not really knowing the correct way to test these things, but I've got my battery, so I'm gonna go off on a whim and guess that the black wire is the ground, the negative, so we'll clip U. I'm going to go with the red wire being the positive. So I'm assuming one of these will be for the brake light switch, or the lights come on and that will be the switch putting the full brake light on, and the other one will be the indicator. So let's see if we've got light. Is that, oh yeah, we're checking that we're in view on there. Right. Jam you there so I can mess around. So let's have a look. Green, let's try green first. So that's the number plate light. That's come on, so let's just try that. So if we do the green wire, yeah, so that's your running rear light and your number plate light, put on the brake switch, red light. So I'm guessing the brune, is that going to be an indicator? Yeah, that'll be an indicator light. I'd rather have more LEDs for the brake light, to be honest, rather than that indicator, but there you go. The brown is the indicator, so that's the one we don't really need. Okie dokes. So I'm trying to work out what my modus operandi is going to be. I think I'm going to work on getting it all mounted on the side mount first, then we'll worry about the wiring. So I'm going to use that. Off the top of my head, I think it's going to be easy to cut those off and do a straight solder onto there, because that's kind of this section of wiring will be running either along the swing arm or up the side of the frame, so I don't want a load of bulky connectors kind of sticking out. I want it to be quite clean, so I'll be able to sleeve it over with some heat shrink on each individual one, and then that over the top. So yeah, I'm just thinking on the fly here. I'm pretty sure that's the way I'm going to go with that. So that'll be nice and neat. That can plug straight into the loom. But yeah, let's get this marked up and mounted up. Right then, so there's the side mount. So I've marked out with 2 white dots where that's going to sit. There we go, boom boom, bolted on. I say not the most prettiest looking thing there. So it's looking on there. I'm going to keep that kind of high density foam pad that's compressed between there. That might act as a bit of dampening when it's on there, perhaps. And also it gives me a gap there to get a nut behind there for when we put the plate on. This isn't the actual plate, but it's the only one of an 8x6 size we've got, and I think that looks okay. No problem with that. Nice and discreet. So I guess get it wired up now as well. So I think when I get the multimeter and the battery out, I'll just work my way through a couple of odd things just to check that they're working okay. In my usual dodgy way of checking things. Rear brake switch, which I've extended the wiring on. I want to check that actually works. So what I'm going to do is just unhook it from the harness here. So I've got the 2 wires there. Trusty multimeter. Set it to the beepy noise one. I've got to try and maintain a good contact with the old little proboids in there. So get those 2 on there. And then, in theory, when I pull the spring as if the brake was being depressed, we should get a beep. Excellent. Right, some more random testing of components with Johnny Cactus, who doesn't really know what he's doing, but we shall see. Right, we've got let's test the starter solenoid. That's this little sort of cylindrical thingamajig that you can see what I've mounted under here, and that is basically your battery from your positive will go into that, and then that will go in this case, it goes it'll go to earth, but it goes via the starter motor, obviously, because that's what's going to get the starter motor going. We've also got coming off it, so that's those 2, and then this wire here into this 2 wires into the connector block, which I'm going to hazard a guess goes to your switch gear. So when you thumb the starter switch up there, that's what makes that all go. So what we're looking for in here is when the contacts go together, like a bit of a ka-chunk. So I think the easiest way of testing this is going to be right, we'll take that, unclip that. So we've got 2 blade connectors that go in there. So all I'm going to do, get me crocodile clips. I've got a couple of the blade connectors loose out of my little connections blocks. We'll put one in there. I mean, it's whatever you've got really to make the contact, but this is actually quite a good, using these is going to be quite a good contact point. I mean, you could just, stick a little wire in there, whatever works. So and then we're going to connect 1 crocodile clip to that side, 1 to that side. Let's make sure they're not shorting each other out. There we go. Right, and then to our battery we'll put let's try and do this one-handed. Put 1 connection point. Just trying to get this so I could just hold it all on. Hang on, let me balance this against my shoe. See if this will work. And then what we're going to be looking for is a ka-chunking noise. That means the starter solenoid's kind of trying to turn on. There we go. Is that picking up? So that's cool. That works. Basically, if I just isolate everything, the starter motor from everything else, so take it all out of the loop. So we're going straight from the battery. So the positive's going to go here to the starter motor, where the lead comes off and goes to the starter solenoid. So we're effectively bypassing that, and then we're just going to earth the negative side of the battery to a point, and hopefully something should spin. Right, so I had a bit of a look at my schematic, and from this I've worked out that I think that bit of tail light loom section, so the bit that goes between the main body of the loom and the brake light, just trying to look, it looks like on here we have a blue wire, a black wire and a yellow wire off the rear light, and then that looks like it's the yellow wire that then feeds into the rear brake light switch. So under that principle, before we go too mad, I've just loosely tied each wire where I think it needs to go, and this is where battery's in, where the fun happens, because we turn on. So we have got power. The neutral light is on. That's in the I've plugged in the idiot lights. Neutral light is on. That's fine. No headlight and no running light. However, if I press the flashing, headlight flash switch, the pass switch, we have light. Okay, so that works. If I depress the rear brake, so nicely, all the stuff that I've messed around with so far, we have rear brake, that comes on, but nothing off the front brake, and I mean pretty much the switches are pretty much dead. So I've got, apart from the pass switch, so there's something going on up here. I'm not entirely sure what it is, and quite free to admit that this is where I struggle. This is quite a pain in the arse for me to try and troubleshoot, because I am that dense when it comes to it. But I'm going to have a bit of time. I'm not going to start soldering anything until I'm more happy with the whole electrical systems working. I mean, we know the starter solenoid works from my little tests. We know the starter motor does. We know the brake light switch in theory should have worked, and that has now been verified with that. But yeah, as for the rest of it, head scratching time. Right, bit of wire jiggling around for the front brake switch, and I've now got that working. So the rear brake, that works. Front brake, that works. Just not running lights, and then still sort of dead up here. Yeah, 5 minutes in. Right, as you can see, we have a lot more light. So we've got the parking light, the main light, so that we have the pass. Let's put it on high beam. That works. We have, what else do we have? Yeah, so you can turn the lights on and off. That all works. The starter button, as you can hear, so we've got power to there. The only thing I still haven't got is power going to this rear brake light. That's still, it's coming on with the switches. Why is that not coming on as a running light? Right, such a twat sometimes. Of course, what I originally did was try and work out which wire was going where. I swapped up the red and the green wires there. So I've switched those round, and then we have exactly as it should be, running lights. I've taken the headlight bulb off though, because that was getting really hot just hanging there. But yeah, it's a little bit shaky because the connections aren't it's just twisted together, so they're not a good connection yet. But no, I'm pretty happy now that everything is as it should be. The only thing that's not happening is anything with the indicators, but then that's because there's no indicators on there at the moment, so there's nothing to complete the circuit. So, by Jove, I think old Spanner here might have actually sorted it. So that's a weight off the old mind. So that's pretty cool. So I'll cobble all this together and see. I mean, I'm sure there's people out there that know about electrics that are probably cringing as they're watching me do stuff. It is painful to watch, and I'm fully aware of that. But hey, we're getting the results we want in the end. So yeah, everything's a right mess wiring wise at the moment. That needs a lot of tidying up, but everything's working as it should, which is cool. So we're making progress. So what I need to do now, take the side mount off,
paint the other plate where I've drilled the holes through, give it another coat of paint, wire that up properly, work through this rat's nest of wiring at the front here so I can see whether or not I'm going to put in a or how much room I've got to put in a small headlight, because of course all that wiring was shoved in the main headlight bucket, so I need to work that out, just tidy stuff up. And also I want to sleeve or do something with this under here, put some conduit in or something that can cover this up so it's not so exposed and open. But that's it. But I'm slightly reassured on that front that we've got a bit of progress happening. So I'll turn off now and get tidying up.
Right, so I figured I'd start with the wiring in the rear, because I wasn't really happy with that, and that was the most straightforward and easy to do. So got myself sat down, my electrical tape, Planet Rock, and very pleased with the results. So I unwrapped all the loom right back up to this point here, separated everything and rerouted all the wiring, and I've sleeved the stuff that's going to be exposed with like proper plastic sleeving, and then just taped all that together to keep it all as one. Put new connectors on for the indicators and their earths, brake light switch that was done, redone the brake light switch, and all I've got left to do now whilst I'm doing that is I can lose a lot of this length on the fuse, but I'm probably gonna I thought I had one in my box but I haven't, but I'm probably gonna get a 20 amp blade fuse and just in one of them waterproof containers and pop that in. That's a bit archaic and old now, so something a bit neater and smaller can go between there and the battery, sorry, the start solenoid, but I'll have to nip to Maplins or something to get that. But yeah, so when that's all routed through, it's just going to be an awful lot more weatherproof and neater, I think, and then all the indicators on there. So that's that done, and I'll just keep putting off that mess.
Go. Right, so that's all our wires attached. I've taken the end that plugs into the loom. I've just pushed the out the connector block because it's just going to make it easier when I'm trying to put on the heat shrink and then put another sleeve over the top of it and what have you. So okay, right, let's get ready to reassemble this. Excellent. Cool. So we have that sorted now. Nicely done. Put a little bit, probably put a little bit of electrical tape just in the join there to keep moisture out. Right, quick check, just see it's all. Yay. Re-break. Superb. That's
okay, so I've started having a look at the old rat's nest of wiring that went in the headlight bucket. I've put the tank on to give me a kind of indication as to how much room I've got to shove wiring underneath here, and it's not a lot at all, actually. It's I can barely get my fingers underneath there. There's a little bit of room here, but also the way to kind of get the tank on as well, going to need a bit of wiggle room to get it on and off the two kind of stoppers that are there. So it's a little bit of a conundrum, this one. it's not looking like I'm going to be able to hide as much of the wiring under there as I thought I was going to, which might affect whether or not we can go for the small headlight, unless I start really trying to work out what I can thin out and chop and disappear on here. But I mean, that's a little bit of a daunting task, so I'm going to have to really have a bit of a think on that. One of the things I am going to do though is just to tidy up the bars even more. This switch or connection here going up to the clutch is the clutch switch, so you can't start the bike in gear, and as kind of possibly silly as it sounds, I'm just going to get rid of it. It hasn't got a side stand switch, so you know, it's the ethos of this bike is stripping it down as much as I can. Anything that you don't really need can come off, and that's going to get rid of this wire here. And all I'm going to do is just well, I've taken it out of the, it's just that switch there, taking it out of the handlebar, put in a little rubber blanking plug to tidy it up, and then I'm just going to, the easy way to bypass it is I'm just going to cut these two wires off, the whole connector block off, solder those two wires together, sleeve them, heat shrink them, so that makes it a continuous kind of loop. So you do away with all that, you bypass it. So I'm going to do that now just to keep me busy whilst I'm thinking about what I'm going to do with all this. Alright, I'm going to call it done there for the video today, because I seem to have been filming a load of stuff, so I've probably got like 20 minutes of stuff here, which is good for a video, and really now I'm going to be just spending some time working through this, seeing if I can slim it down a little bit, reduce bits, look at routing, basically tidying it all up. So yeah, a therapeutic but head scratching period ahead. But there we go, plenty of cups of tea in the shed and the radio's on, so should be alright. But I've ordered an exhaust as well, so that should be coming fairly soon. It's coming from Germany. That was the cheapest place I could find this particular one. Nothing out of this world, it's just literally very much like the America ones. I decided to go for the short, kind of straight, stubby exhaust. The only reason I went for one in Germany is that for the same price, or well, no, three or four quid more than the cheapest 12-inch shorty stubby can I could find over here. Theirs come in black, so I went for the black one. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. So that just leaves just a few items left to actually buy, which is the speedo, whatever headlight happens, and a set of indicators. And yeah, depending on what configurations I use, the odd bracket here and there to make that happen. But yeah, it's getting pretty close. So thanks for watching. It's been a bit of a, I wonder if it's been a bit of a long one, this one, and just farting around with the electrics, but rock and roll, we're getting closer. It makes noises when we push the button and turn the key on, so that's good. And I'll catch you next time. Take care.